Okay.
Hi, welcome to the New York Parrot Literary Corner. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Today we have Phire, who is as a survivor and healer of trauma. Phire has used her journey to thrive through her pain, including healing beyond the murder of her father when she was 15 years old. She was motivated to grow forward and assist others to thrive beyond their personal challenges and traumas. Her poetry collection, Commit to Healing, addresses her own lessons and triumphs while learning to cope. With a bachelor's and master's in psychology, Phire has been a featured poet and speaker for numerous events in her communities, including Western Michigan University Suicide Prevention and other community international informational programs. Phire has also taught others how to heal and adopt positive coping skills through writing and poetry. And you can find more of her work in her book, Commit to Healing, at firefree.com/media. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Hello.
It's wonderful to have you on the program. I'm
Mhm.
really glad to be speaking with you, and I'm sure we'll have a fruitful afternoon of discussion about poetry and healing and how the two sort of coalesce and whatnot. So, um,
Definitely.
from your experience, how does poetry help people deal with trauma?
Poetry is a beautiful, beautiful tool for working through trauma and for just working through experiences. One of the ways that it does so is just being able to work with words and feeling words. I don't know if you've ever done any of those exercises where you actually use feeling words or giving words a color or giving colors feelings, but it allows for us to make different connections in our brains with our own emotions, which increases our emotional IQ or our EQ, our emotional quotient.
Right. That's interesting. It's the in language, the ability of language to sort of heal the brain and to rethink the way really to rethink the way you already have construed events and things and try
Yes.
to to bridge with hope, or with happiness, with more constructive patterns of thought. Is that sort of what you find that it poetry is able to do that with people if it's properly used properly as a tool?
Yes, very much so. Poetry also it kind of opens us up to the things that are going on with us. So and it even allows us to even focus our energy and our attention in on specific situations or specific events. Kind of the same way that like talking about something that just happens allows you to
Hmm.
process it. But when you can think about the way that things have occurred, you can even break down poetically within the rhythm of how things go. It allows you to experience it differently.
That's interesting. It's a very therapeutic tool. It sounds like, yeah, it's
Yes.
way you use that, and I find that fascinating. So, what is your own story that opened you to this avenue that brought you to this sort of approach to poetry?
This is a lifelong journey.
Right.
So with my book, Commit to Healing,
Hmm.
what
Beautiful cover.
has thank you. With everything that has occurred, basically, I spent so much of my time writing and learning to express and learning expression. And because I come from a home where expressing wasn't something that I could do organically, I learned how to keep it focused on the stage. I could focus my energy for the stage, and so I did like theater
Hmm.
and then when I found like the spoken word movement and performance poetry, that really allowed me to open up the doorways to how words can be used. So when it comes down to it, being able to open up rhythm and recognize the power of a thesaurus. I know a lot of people are probably like, it's a thesaurus, it's a writing tool, but a thesaurus can be a huge door to just learning how to control, recognize, and enhance our own emotional experiences. And So that's pretty much my relationship with poetry. It's learning, how to use the thesaurus, how to
Mhm.
use the dictionary, how to make verbal, like vocabulary building more than just a tool for what looks good on a resume, or what's good on a college application,
Mhm.
but kind of building out relationships, and how to reconnect with specific communities that we already align with.
So, and does it help people, you think, be in tune to their own value systems and ability to approach life in a more constructive manner to from their values? I mean, I wonder how that works. It's interesting.
Absolutely. I can kind of talk about some of my aspects of it.
Mhm.
I am a member of the Green Party. I'm part of the structure of the Green Party.
Uh,
Um, and so when learning that I align with the values of the 10 key values, social
mhm.
justice, recognizing that people need support, recognizing that fighting for the environment isn't just fighting for, making sure that animals have habitats, but also making sure that we have things that we need, like clean air and
Mhm.
clean water. So it's like, so realizing the connection between words and the importance of recognizing, like, water isn't just something that nourishes our body. Water can nourish the spirit. When being in able to swim in lakes, spending time on a beach, these are all things that are very good for the mind, the body, and the spirit, to slow down. We're not focusing on industry as much. We're not focusing on how to make money. We're taking the time to focus on how to quiet the spirit, how to find a place of peace, work through inner anxiety. All of these are things that can happen when we actually connect how we speak about our lives and how we live our lives.
So, what kind of work is the Green Party doing with the arts and social justice?
Oh,
There a
man.
platform they have for those kinds of things?
Well, with social justice, we have specifically outreach, but with the arts, we have something called the Green Pages, and we kind of update people on things that are going on in the community.
Mhm.
We write about an update on our actions and what we've taken time in. But we also do connect strongly with a lot of artists, because a lot of artists benefit and value their communities and ways that they can reach out in the communities. So it's very important that we're able to make those connections. Yes.
Absolutely, and so do they also believe there's a sort of bridge between social justice and the arts?
I strongly, I mean, from everything that I've encountered, I would definitely say that we do know that there's a strong connection between the arts and social justice. We strongly believe in being able to educate and outreach through, literary opportunities and literary engagement. So yeah, we definitely know. And even with our green pages going digital,
Mhm.
and different ways that we're looking at ways that we can continue to connect with our artistic communities. We just want everybody to know, like, yeah, there's I don't think we would all be able to understand the greatness of how important our values are without, value for artists and artistic works.
Are there any collaborations you've done, or any, like, really amazing artists you've worked with in that capacity?
Um, well, I'm the traditional arts. I've worked with amazing artists
Mhm.
everywhere. um,
Mhm.
but the traditional arts, I work a lot more with music artists. So someone that has really truly aligned strongly has been a chick with beats. As a poet, I've done a lot of work with different schools and organizations. Um, Western Michigan University, the Link program in Grand Rapids. So there's been a lot of different places that, yeah, there's been some amazing talent and individuals that I've been able to work with. Spark Elevation, who does work. Spark Elevation is a poet and artist who does work in um, along the lines of self-care and recognition of anxiety and ways to care for self.
So how does your knowledge of psychology work into your poetry? Do you ever use like your knowledge of psychology in your poetry?
I do. I use so my background is psychology.
Mhm.
I have a master's of arts, and basically what ended up happening was while I was getting my master's degree and going through the challenges of a master's level program, I was a full time spoken word poet. That was basically what happened. And that's
Mhm.
basically how I started my book. And what that ultimately allowed me to do was during the day when I was going through the learning of the processing and applying everything that I was learning into my own life and applying through my own process of development and also honing in my own skill set, I was processing it through writing out a lot of the trauma, the challenges, the hardships that I was going through at the same time. So when I write poetry, it's from a perspective, it's from a lens of creativity, but also one of the things I've recognized is even within my own creativity, I have a value and a love for for processing and
Mhm.
how the world looks from a psychological lens.
Interesting. Can you kind of give us an idea of what that means processing? What does that mean exactly?
So, processing is the ability to kind of break down what's happening internally. So, when you're talking to a therapist, or even talking to a friend, or having that therapeutic, or having that sensory time, processing includes being able to recognize some aspects of yourself while you're talking about it, or while you're reviewing it, or while you're thinking about it. It's being able to kind of break down the situation and look at it more closely. But because it's not necessarily the structure of an assessment, or it doesn't necessarily, it's a combination of like assessment, analysis, questioning, answering, finding
Mhm.
solutions within everything. So it's just this big process, because the mind kind of works like a computer. So you're going through this
Right.
whole this
Mhm.
whole um uh situation in your head, and then breaking it down in ways that helps understand it and understand different parts of it and impacts down the road.
Interesting. So, would you like to share a poem or two from your book with us?
Sure. So, um, Commit to Healing
Mhm.
starts with one of my pieces where I've learned about myself.
Okay.
Um, it's called I Have Opened. When we began, I understood that he was different. Our relationship would allow me to grow, making me understand life much more vivid. Changing. My blues becoming purple with sunrise, my grays growing vibrant rays of pink. My heart is open to gentility of a beautifully human being. I have opened. A blooming flower, trusting sun's warmth, embracing truth, a form greater than I, yet is significant to my own significance. Bleeding out scars left by pain, regenerating security where abandonment tattooed its loathing. I have opened. Subtle sounds of sweet black essence build solid structures where dysfunction had demolished health. Tangible taste of tantalizing touch has twirled my toughness, turned me into tender tones, turning me on, and I have opened. Impassioned emphasis on impact involves endearment and embrace, enfolding limbs, enamored and intricate elation. I have softened. To the touch of closeness soothed into serenity someday, I will smile to his strong symbol of boldness, black beauty as armor and protection. Open. Open to his intellect and defiant affection, I will be the willow weeping majestically as God made me. Open. Open to know happiness again, to know fulfillment and peace in a way that is joined anew. open to what life has next to offer instead of questioning what I have next to endure. I am willing to be open. And here with me is he, and we are open.
There's a lot of it opens with a lot of colorful imagery, and how I noticed when you mentioned processing, I can see that in that like the sunset becoming coming out through emotionally. It's attuned emotionally rather than just being a sunset. It represents a pattern of emotion emerging, and then you kind of go into a sort of tactile phase in there where you're referring to sensations and things. So that's quite interesting. That's a good poem. I enjoyed
Thank you.
listening to that.
Thank you.
So if you would like to read another one,
Sure. This is called I Am No Hero. I am HER. Um, a world of tears that guide love and understanding. Movement is inspired by emotional connections when emotions are manipulated to a point of disconnection. No longer acceptable to be human, love is now a fusion of natural emotion and unnatural logic. Truth is a matter of perspective, though illusions of lies are considered comforting and required. Don't love me if lying is the only way to tell me your truth. My tomorrow is not yours to determine, it is mine to decide what I would like and what I want. It is my love that I choose to give, and if the person you are as you are is not deserving of my love, then accept the truth and move on. My time and space is my dimension to choose directive, not yours. I choose you to share directive with me, not to direct me. As I would not direct you, though truth be told, we both know that I could. I would not want to be told how to live a life that has been given me as mine. I offer the same respect. When my actions read that you are who you are, but you cannot be trusted, then I will let you be you, alone. Loneliness is a truth that we learn not to question, but to accept and understand as the knowledge that it speaks. Understanding comes from experiencing the unknown, but loneliness and embrace of time alone places development into self that speaks a necessary truth. Down the line, he may look again and understand that she was no hero, but she was honest, enlightened, and respectable. She was HER.
hmm, one reads like a lot of affirmations and like a sort of a way of assessing oneself in a situation. Very
Yes,
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I enjoyed hearing that one.
thank you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first.
I was also thinking of it. There's also the times when kind of defining relationships as well, like when enough is enough. Um,
Right.
so being
Yeah,
able to say that
absolutely.
I've had enough, and if you're not willing to accept that, then that's on you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think we can do one more poem if you want to do another one.
Thank you. This is called Forever Yours.
Hmm.
Um, there's no other you. Peace you found in my heart is yours. Truth offers a still. My silence is peace, creating open, true life where you can't find. When earth could contain you and I and maintain balance, our kingdom would ascend. Now is not ours. We held a moment, a peace, speckle freely floating amongst chaos, dancing on air, watching life spin out of control, always grateful for being able, held in your arms, lost in safe open warmth. Little girl, truly protected, found searching for so many years to find someone to offer me comfort, healing, a broken soul. Not to love me, but mend what was broken and suffering, raise consciousness where my giant slept. Returned to my natural state, love, protection, and value brought strength to my soul. Your warmth, safe memory, smile, a place of joy, brown in your eyes, depth of your stare, gentle touch, your breath on my skin, you sweep me into a realm of sweet, solid embrace. Nights I cried out for you. I remember strength of loving you was not in forever, but transformation you created in a moment. I was built and molded through your mind and love, taken out of my corner and embraced the world around me. You are a place of safe, unquestionable love, exposure new and unknown to my heart. you gave me a gift that I will carry with me forever.
And that's almost the very opposite of the previous one in a lot of ways. That thematically, it's a that one's about wanting to be with somebody and loving somebody, and they either they're not there or that something has its end. It sounds like that, or in that case, it could be not that it has its end, but you're addressing it as a this has happened. It's like that's how I gathered from the ending where you said this is a gift you've given. So it's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you
You-
for everything that you've seen in it.
Yeah, quite welcome. I love listening to people's various approaches to writing and getting an idea of who they are as a person. So in your book, Commit to Healing, which you just read from, have you
Mhm.
had anybody approach you and say that the book has inspired you them in some way, and you have any stories like that to share with us?
I have a few pieces that have inspired people. I have a semi-political piece called Freegasm, which basically just goes into this space of women and the needs of how women are kind of minimized and often sexualized, but not in ways that are I mean, being sexualized can be, it is a neutral thing, but it can be negated or made something very negative. And I've had women thank me for come up and thank me for being open about the fact that, it's okay to be a woman that accepts their sexuality, but even though we're in that space, respect the woman, respect the mind and the intelligence that comes with it. um,
Right.
I've had people appreciate and value um, many of. I have a poem in here called Faith. I've had people value and understand some of the strength and the impact of having the discussion about the growth in spirit. So the a lot of Commit to Healing is metaphorical, and I use relationships very much and sex and interactions as a metaphor, because those were some of the more um, present parts of my life when I was going through all of the stages that of growth that were
Mhm.
happening while I was writing. So
Interesting. And so your poetry, how long did it take to write the entire book? Was it a few years, a few months?
so the book itself, the collection of poems took about maybe 2 years to write
Okay.
the bulk of them. And then I added a couple of them, but I finally stopped adding in 2016. So it
Hmm.
took about 5 years.
Wow. How many poems do you think are in there exactly?
It is a collection of 48 poems, 48 poems.
Okay.
Mm,
That's pretty impressive. I mean, you really took your time with a lot of that. So, I mean, would you revise and rewrite in the process of putting the book together? And you ever find like you put a piece in there that you're just like, I really should have thought that one through.
so the funny thing is, like, during the process of doing all the writing and collecting, I probably wrote closer to maybe 50 or 60 poems.
Hmm.
A nice amount. And so when I was choosing for the book, I chose pieces that I noticed resonated with people. I chose them carefully. But the whole, I would not read them in front of anyone or share them with anyone until they were in a space where I felt that they were done.
Yeah, the other question I was about to ask about it was, did you, as you were putting the book together, did you show people what you were doing and see what their input was? I think you answered that. It's kind of funny you answered that. It must be attuned, or something.
You are
Uh,
right.
that yeah, that was going to be my next question was is how did you go about with sort of having other people reflect back what you were writing on, and you had input from people who were it sounds like what they would do is look at it and they would react to it, and you picked what people strongly reacted to,
Yeah.
and like, were able to address in their own lives, stuff that people can relate to rather than just put a poem that maybe was more deeply personal,
Yeah.
that may not fit into the idea of commit to healing, like a social message or a social sense of helping people. So that's interesting that we were attuned there for a second there. So do you feel your own personal healing journey is complete when you help heal other people?
Um, I honestly recognize the journey is always, it's like a transition. There's always a movement and upward elevation. So I my journey will always be, but when working with people, I also relate because I'm still going through my journey. So I can recognize, oh, I understand this, or I recognize this part, or even being it understanding that the process itself happens, and sometimes it feels like we're moving back when we're actually elevating to another level. So um,
Hmm.
I always feel like I can understand people, and I don't look at people and go, no, I do not understand what's going on. Like I can be like, you know what, I can relate to that. I've had a similar experience, and even we can even break down and process the situation.
That's interesting. So you feel like you're really capable, from your knowledge of psychology and your own personal experiences, to really relate strongly with other people. Have you ever like heard someone talk about the situation they're in, and maybe they're having trouble processing it, and you say, "Why don't you write a poem, or why don't you write something and try to
Mhm.
help that person kind of work those emotions out in
Yeah.
that way?" So
Yes.
do you find that effective with them to be able to address personal life issues, and through poetry they work really well in the moment for that kind of thing?
Yes, maybe not necessarily poetry at the moment. Some people may be able to really just take words and fluently put them down on paper, and it's like, yeah, that let's follow that. With some people, it may just be a series of thoughts. Sometimes it's just one particular thought. Sometimes it's multiple thoughts, and they just have to get them out, and then we can kind of work together and see what, if there's a common theme or something that, or an alignment that we can find. But it's different for everybody. But I mean, journaling, writing, specific words, things that people are hearing recurring, getting that out on paper is always helpful.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very helpful to write. I mean, there's something about writing. I've learned that there's a link between writing and memory,
Yes.
and memory, of course, is where you're storing a lot of both positive and negative feedback from the environment, and
Right.
so it can help you kind of reconstitute things. It can help you learn new perspectives about what's going on in your mind, and maybe maybe even teach you a little bit about what somebody else may have been thinking when they acted a certain way towards you, and you
Yep.
thought maybe you took it personally, and then it's like maybe they didn't really mean it personally. Maybe they're just having a bad day, or and you're sitting here grieving in your heart about it, and they really just shot their mouth at a wrong time or something. And maybe have you ever found people like learn a totally different viewpoint of somebody else through writing or through discussing things?
Yes, by writing out a situation, and by giving it perspective and stepping back and just looking at how things had occurred, it can be eye opening to see if somebody was if there was more personal into the situation, or if that situation was maybe something else. And so that's one of the many ways that writing can be quite empowering. And then also taking time to rewrite the situation and say, okay, if I had taken me out of this, how would it have looked? And that's a good way to kind of like diffuse conflict, to work on things like forgiveness, and to kind of build forward in not carrying so many different aspects of things with us as we go through day-to-day life.
Excellent. So we have a few minutes left. I think if you want to thank some friends, family, colleagues, other poets, artists that you know have impacted you, and share a message with your with our viewers, and as well as other poets and writers and healers out there. We
Well,
have time for that. Go ahead.
let me just first take a moment and say thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
You're welcome.
I'm so
Absolutely.
grateful. I want to also thank Delilah from Texas, or Delilah for Texas. She's running, she's a green running for the Texas governor spot. I want to thank Manny Jade Garcia, because I am grateful for the time that he has given me. I am grateful for my friends like Amanda and Aisha, a chick with beats again. I'm very grateful for my husband and my family who has been very understanding and supportive. I'm so grateful for all of the alternative news media, literary news media, for just allowing me to share. Um, I'm grateful for the poetry community. Let me not forget at all the poetry community who has been very supportive. Azar King for allowing me to share. Mr. Witz, both are on Instagram. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for their community. I want to thank. We actually met you in the LinkedIn group.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry editors, poetry editors and poets. I think. Um,
Yes, I think so.
so I'm very grateful for that group. I'm just grateful for the literary community that has been very expansive and supports all of us writers, spoken word poets, activists,
Mm-hmm.
because without everybody who's been willing to share and write, we there wouldn't be. And I also want to thank my local library. We have a writing group that we meet, and I'm really grateful for the time to be able to write with my writing group as well.
So, do you have any I don't know words of advice or a message to share with writers out there who are and thinkers and healers and so forth? Anything you want to say to address them and encouragement to anything like that?
Oof. So what I would honestly say is, for a lot of people who may not be feeling the most engaged or may not be feeling the most inspired in this time, this is a hard time for people, even though messaging may not align with that. Intuitively, we may be feeling like there are some emotional issues, there are some issues with adjustment that we're dealing with. That is what we're going through right now. People do not respond at their best when they're in periods of crisis, in periods of trauma, when they're in periods of I don't know, a pandemic. So it's totally okay, and it's totally fine to not necessarily be feeling inspired right now. It's okay to just take the time that you need to take care of yourself, and to figure out what is helping you get from day to day.
I think that's a very positive message, and I think that's very true that people are just not physically or politically committed or any of that we're normally accustomed to, then maybe it's good to take a little break and just wind up and let yourself feel what you need to feel during these times where we're just so much going on.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many historical events have happened just in the last 5 years.
I know.
It's just wow,
Right.
just we've been hit with so much, just one thing after the next, you
Yes.
know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully things will start winding down a little bit. I don't honestly don't know. I've been looking at media about COVID and stuff, and it's just like it seems like they're never going to stop with new variations, new mutations.
Right.
It's like it's never going to end. So thank you for joining us today, and it's been wonderful talking with you. And hopefully, I'll be able to share this video with you pretty soon. I appreciate all the time that you spent with us and talking to our viewers. Um, so just keep up the healing and keep up the work. And for all those out there who have been watching, she has a wonderful book called "Commit to Healing." If you guys want to check that out, you can get the wonderful cover. It looks very Very nice. It's very straightforward, and that's Fire Free with a Phire, as you can see in my background there. So check a look at that book, and that's a wonderful way of addressing your own personal healing journey is to through poetry and through processing, through writing. Even if you're not a poet, you can definitely just sit down sometimes and just journal out some of your emotions and thoughts, and
Yes.
it's a very wonderful approach to kind of reconstituting life and trying to see things a little more clearly. So thank
Thank
you
you.
again for joining us, Fire Free. And this is Dustin Pickering and our anthology, the Parrot Series
Thank,
1. Thank you very much.
thank you, Dustin.
Thank you. Series 1 of Parrot Literary Anthology. The Literary Parrot is coming out August 1st, which is in a couple of days. So you guys out there watching this, please feel free to get in touch with me at literarycorner@newyorkparrot.com or on Facebook if you're interested in purchasing a copy during the pre-order phase, which will end August 1st. It's $17 plus free shipping USA and 6 international. So please be in touch soon. Don't forget this. And we're looking for 1 million subscribers. We want 1 million subscribers to this program. You can be one. We can all be one. And let's keep sharing this content. And we are very appreciative of our viewers out there who are watching us and listening to the program. Hopefully, you're learning quite a bit from all our various guests. And just thank you again, everybody out there who has been supportive of us. And if you would like to donate, paypal.me/nyparrot. That is our donation PayPal. If you want to donate any amount of money, we'll take anything you were willing to give. $5, $10, $6,000. That's fine with me too. If you have that much to spare. Just kidding. But anyway, this has been a New York Parent Literary Corner, and I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host, and we will be coming back again tomorrow. You never know where we'll be. We were doing a global poetry platform. We are the best and only global platform for a television program for creative minds. So keep a lookout for us, and definitely don't forget tomorrow we'll be here. It'll be a new day, and you'll be resurrected in spirit of good tidings and so forth. And so we'll hopefully see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you again. This is Dustin Pickering, Literary Corner, Voice for Humanity. Thank you very much.